Jó reggelt kívánok, hogy vagy jó? Start of another day. And what parking lot do I find myself in today? It is, oh goodness gracious. Hmm. Oh boy, that's good. It is. I'm in Cranberry Township. Doesn't that sound that has a nice name to it, doesn't it? Cranberry Township, just outside of Pittsburgh. When I was growing up as a little kid in Cleveland, we hated Pittsburgh. You know, I guess you pronounce it Pittsburgh, but we used to pronounce it Pittsburgh. I don't know. You know, it was home of the Steelers, and the Steelers are in the same division as the Cleveland Browns in football. So we loathed Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. That's it. Pittsburgh. But anyway, so I made it to about 9:30, 10 o'clock last night, and I stopped at the last service area or rest area, whatever you want to call it, off the Ohio Turnpike, and and they and I looked on my little app RB Parky, and I found a Walmart here in Cranberry Township. And I got to tell you, I mean, Walmart is becoming as endearing to me as Starbucks. I mean, it's a what a I pulled in last night, and it was a 24-hour Walmart Supercenter, and I just found a nice place to park, crawled in underneath my flannel sheets, and I was like a bug in a rug, and I found as I found myself going to sleep, I found myself thinking that hoping that somebody didn't like push a cart outside, like a shopping cart, and hit my car or something like that. And I found myself thinking, what a contrast between 2 nights ago, going to sleep, with a knife up by my bed in case a grizzly bear came in the middle of the night, and 2 nights later going to sleep worried about a shopping cart hitting my car. What a contrast. But anyway, the not too much is on my mind. I'm about an hour and a half. I'm about an hour and a half from Somerset, Pennsylvania, where the manufacturer of my camper is. And I hope I'm going to get the camper dialed in. I have high hopes that they're going to replace the refrigerator. There's something going on with the hot water too. The hot water, I can use the hot water if I heat it by the gas, but by the electric, there seems to be a problem with that. And what else am I going to have them fix? There was a little leak or something by the corner of the baseboard underneath the refrigerator. I don't know what that is, but anyway, so I'm about an hour and a half from there, and it's 5:30 in the morning. So I'm going to get there right at about 7, and I hope I'm going to be pulling out of there later this afternoon. They when I called, I talked to a guy named Bob, and Bob said that they've got one guy on my camper today. One guy just dedicated to Tom Hall's camper. You know, and when I called, he said, "Is this the Tom Hall of YouTube fame?" And I said, "No, I'm just joking." He didn't say that, but maybe one day. I'm up to 13,000, almost 13,200 subscribers, which is nothing to sneeze at. I'm going to hit a point, at some point in time, I'm going to break the 20,000 mark. Maybe I should focus on the 15,000 mark before the 20,000 mark. But at some point in time, I'm going to hit, the 25,000 mark. And, I find myself sometimes thinking that if like most things in life, if I applied myself, if I really applied myself to this whole YouTube video thing, then who knows what could happen, you know. But throughout a good portion of my life, I just enough, you know, just enough to get by, so to speak. But and then there's poor Skip Smith. You know, I was talking to Skip Smith yesterday, and boy, man, he just goes. He just his YouTube thing is that's his life. You know, I mean, he's buying, buying this equipment and buying that equipment and doing this and doing that and what have you. And I just take my cell phone and just hit go live and and do my videos. But anyway, so that's I'm about an hour and a half from Somerset, and they open up at 7 a.m. So I'm going to keep this video relatively short. You know, yesterday I did a video, with my dad. Did a video, well, not with my dad, but well, with my dad in spirit. I did a video of my dad on the two-year passing. 2 years ago he passed, and last night I went in and I'm kind of looking through the comments, and lo and behold, there is the one and only Mercedes. You know, every now and then Mercedes will surface. You know, every now and then Mercedes will surface, and it's nice to know that Mercedes. It's nice to know that you watch my videos. You know, it really is. It's nice to know that you're still tuning in to Tom TV and watching the videos. Boy, you're an angel. You know, if there were ever an angel walking on earth, you would be it, Mercedes. So anyway, so that's about it. You know, the other thing that's on my mind is last night. Every time I come back to the Cleveland area, it's the strangest of feelings. It really is, from a couple different perspectives. There are a few different perspectives. It's one of the strangest sensations, and I say that because last night I was driving down the interstate, and I'm going by these landmarks that are it was my life, you know, for 18 years. I'm just driving past all of these landmarks. And as I was driving along yesterday, I found myself thinking about three things basically. One was, you know, I read once that the overwhelming majority of people never move away more than 50 miles from where they were born. I don't know what the statistic is. It's a very high number. But the overwhelming of majority of people never leave more than a 50-mile radius of where they were born. And, and that's not to include people that, go on a vacation or do what have you. But they don't call home someplace outside of 50 miles of where they were born. And when I come back to Cleveland, and I'm driving along, you know, you can't help but to think, as I drive along, I can't help but to think of all the places that I've been in this world. You know, since I left home 35 years ago or whatever it was, almost 40 years ago. You know, I cannot even begin to imagine all the places that I've been in those 40 years. And to think that there are those that, you know, that have just never, for all intent and purpose, never left this this area. And not that there's anything wrong with that. You know, I mean, it's to each their own, but to think about that, you know, to think about all the places that I've been. I mean, the world for all intent and purpose, has been like my playground for the last 15 years or something like that. And to come back, to come back is is really, really something else. The other interesting thing that I often that often think about when I come back is I was basically at the age of I was 17 years old, and I was for all intent and purpose put on the street at 17 years old. I walked out the door of my parents' house into this big big old world with nothing but a brown paper bag, a toothbrush, and a pair of clean underwear. And I walked out that house into the big scary world. And look at me now, some 35 years later. It just it just blows my mind. It just blows my mind the where I've gone to where I was back then. And I can close my eyes and I can still I can still feel that sensation. I can still feel here almost 40 years later. I can still close my eyes and see that little 17-year-old kid walking down that street into the big scary world. And it seems like it was yesterday. It seems like it was yesterday that was happening. But anyway, and the other thing that's always interesting without too many specifics. So it's interesting to come home, and I've got it almost feels like I don't have roots here. It doesn't feel like home. It almost feels like just another place, just another stop, just another destination. It doesn't feel like home. But anyway, so always a lot of different emotions on my mind when I come back to this area. The other thing that was on my mind, as I was going to sleep and as I was waking up today, I've been listening to this series called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and you talk to a lot of people. I mean, I bought the second book on Audible, which is called The Cash Flow Quadrant. The Cash Flow Quadrant. And it's a book about the four different classifications of people. You have a circle that's cut into four pies, and on the left hand side you have the E type, which are employees, people that just poured my coffee this morning in Starbucks. You have the employees, and then you have the S type, which are the people like myself, self-employed, and then you have the B type, like business people, and then you have the I type, which are investors. And I'm not going to go into a lot of the specifics about the different types and what have you, but as he's sitting there and he's describing these types, like the S type, he's describing me to a T. It's amazing. I mean, he's describing me to a T. And then he's describing the B type. And I can't help but to think, I know, the owner of a company of 500 plus. I know I've got I guess I don't know if I guess he's a friend, client, friend. But sometimes it's hard to draw the line between whether they're a client or a friend. But he's a little bit of a both. And this guy started a company with $1,000 in a toolbox, and his company now does well over $100 million a year, and he's got 500 some employees or something like that. And needless to say, this guy is he does very well by himself. And I called him up yesterday I called him up yesterday and I told him about this book that I'm reading. And this guy never went to college, never went to college. But I called him up yesterday and I told him about this book I'm reading, and I telling him about the cash flow quadrant. And he was all ears. He was interested in what I was telling him. And I said, I said, you're in the B quadrant. I said, I'm in the S quadrant. I said, and this book is going to teach me how to go from the S quadrant to the B quadrant. And as we were talking, I said, I said, one thing that stuck out to me about the book, one thing that stuck out to me about the B type person, such as yourself, it says that when you're a B type personality, a B type, individual, um, you should be able to walk away from your business for a year and come back and find that the business was as profitable or more profitable, as efficient or more efficient than when you left it the year before. I said, can you do that? Can you do that? Can you walk away from your business for a year? And do you think you'd come back and find it in such a situation? And he said, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. But the thing that really stuck out about this book, as I listen to these books, this is the second book that I'm listening to. I'm just glued. I'm just my ears are just glued. I'm driving down the highway and I'm listening to this stuff. And as I listen to this stuff, if what I'm hearing is correct, I am where I find myself at 56 years old. I guess there's good news and bad news. The good news as I listen to this stuff, I am like in the top, I don't know, 1% or top 10% of people, just based upon listening to what I'm listening to. So I guess that's the good news. The bad news is, as I listen to this stuff, I'm in bad shape. I'm in bad shape. I listen to this. I listen to this stuff, and what he talks about the typical person, with the 401k, and investing and being quote unquote diversified in mutual funds and all this type of stuff. And I am so far from being where I should be. And if I'm far from being where I should be, the people that aren't where I'm at, it's just you'd have to listen. You'd have to actually listen to this book to hear what he's saying, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, he's just talking about he's talking about a lot of what he was talking about was the different types of investors. The different types of investors. Ultimately, you want to be in that in that I quadrant, the investor type of quadrant, and not necessarily in the capacity of investing in a 401k. And anyway, it's just kind of an interesting read. But the other thing that's interesting about these type of books, the Think and Grow Rich with Napoleon Hill, that book right there, that Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and How to Win Friends and Influence People, those books right there did a lot to change my life. The Think and Grow Rich, anything the human mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. That was something that I learned at a very, very young age. Anything the human mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. And so I took what I learned from that book and I applied it to my life. But when I call these different people and said, "Oh, have you ever heard of this book called Think and Grow Rich? Have you ever heard of this book?" Or not Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad Poor Dad. there's several people that I might call and and say, have you heard? Oh, that's a great book. That's a great book. Such a great book. And you know what it is that the people, often more times than not, people will read something like that book, or they'll read something like that book, or they'll listen to something like that book, but they don't apply it. They'll say it's a great book. It sounds good. Everything is just unbelievable, but they don't apply it in their lives. And as I'm sitting there listening to this book, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to apply what I'm learning. It's kind of like the Bible. You know, a lot of people will go through life and they'll read the Bible, or they'll sit in church on Sundays and listen to the Bible be read to them, you know, but then they don't apply it. You know, they'll say, "Oh yeah, the Bible's the best book ever written," you know, but then at the end of the day, they don't apply what they hear or what they learn. But anyway, just fascinating, all fascinating stuff. I changed my flight. I was flying out on Monday back to Florida, and I heard that because of the hurricane, the airlines would let you change your flight. And I called. I'm flying out on Frontier Airlines, and I called to change my flight, and I got somebody from the Philippines on the line or something like that. And he told me that, he said, well, you can change your flight, but it's going to cost you. You're going to have to pay $119 for a change fee. And I said, okay. I said, am I going to have to pay a difference in the fare? He said, well, let me look. And he goes, oh, Mr. Hall, this is very expensive. Be very expensive for you to change your flight. And I said, what's the damage? He says, it's going to be $358, which includes your $119 change fee. I said, $358 to change my flight from one day to the next? Yes, Mr. Hall. Said, okay, just don't do anything. Just leave it. So I pull up the same app that I bought the ticket from a few days ago, and I type in, flying out Sunday instead of Monday. I type in flying out Sunday, and one way, mind you, one-way ticket, Sunday instead of Monday. And it comes up, same airline, $42. $42 to fly out one day early. No $119 change fee, nothing. Just $42 for a ticket one day earlier. And I'm thinking to myself, goodness gracious. So anyway, today is Thursday, so hopefully I'll pick up the camper today here in Somerset, and then I'm going to go up and go to the Geauga County Fair. I'm going to go to a good old-fashioned county fair. The weather is going to be perfect, in the 70s, sunny, and I'm going to go to the Geauga County Fair on my way back up. I'll fly out of Cleveland on Sunday, and then I'll just leave my camper at the airport. It's $7 a day or $8 a day or something like that. I'll just leave the camper at the airport. I could leave it at any one of several clients in the Cleveland area if I wanted to, but for $8 a day, it's just as well to leave it at the airport. And when I come back, I'm making a beeline for Nova Scotia. I'm going to come back middle of September, and I'm going to, come hell or high water, Lord willing, I'm going to see Nova Scotia. I'm going to stand on the shore of Nova Scotia and look at the Atlantic crashing on the rocks down below my feet, and then do the whole New England thing toward the end of September. But anyway, that's about it, folks. Have Have a great day today. All right, take good care. Okay, bye bye. See, I still have this thing from Mercedes. If you're watching, I still have this thing that you gave me, this little this little crystal. You see, I still have this little crystal, and you know, every now and then I'll look at this thing and I'll think about you. Isn't that something? But all right, take good care, everyone. Have a great day.